What's up, everybody? Ntcertified here. Today is Monday, and last night we had Hell in a Cell 2017 from that beautiful, beautiful brand new Little Caesars Arena in Chicago, Illinois. Did you see the lights up in the ceiling in that arena? That was amazing. Freaking amazing. But without further ado, let's get into a Hell in the Cell review. Okay, so to commemorate this momentous occasion, another pay-per-view review, today I'm wearing my Y2J Chris Jericho t-shirt. I hope that he comes back soon and he comes back to SmackDown. I want to see another Y2J AJ Styles match for sure. Now, before we get into this review, I just want to say that SmackDown has not been booked as good as I think it should have been recently. I feel like it's been on par with Raw recently, which is not a good thing. Raw's not that great, and SmackDown hasn't been that great either. But nonetheless, I was excited about this pay-per-view because I feel like from top to bottom, the card had a solid build to it. I feel like every match had some build. Nothing was just thrown together. And that typically makes for a really decent pay-per-view. So let's start off with the kickoff show. We had Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable going against the Hype Bros in a tag team contest. I actually feel like they were given a decent amount of time for a pre-show match, and I think the match was decent. I think Benjamin and Gable have a lot of potential as a tag team, and given a couple more months or so, they may be serious contenders for the tag team titles. I do like that they had matching outfits for the first time. They were almost in sync previously, but this was the first time that we actually saw them two in actual matching outfits. As far as the Hype Bros go, they were not in sync. Mojo was wearing green, I believe, and Ryder was wearing silver and blue, which I think was done purposely to try to offset them, to show that they're not a team, they're not together, they're having issues. And that's exactly what happened in this match, because Gable and Benjamin were able to win off of an issue between the Hype Bros. And I like the Hype Bros. I think they could be a serious team if given enough time. I think they could be decent heels. Ryder is being used more than he pretty much ever has at this point since joining the Hype Bros, so I really can't complain about that, but more things to come. At least they're having some storyline continuity there. We are on to the main show, and I knew without a doubt that the first match was going to be Hell in a Cell, Usos, and the New Day. Partially because that was the match that I wanted to see the most on the whole card. And sure enough, they started with Tag Team Championships, Hell in a Cell, New Day versus the Usos. For me, the match was kind of brutal. And it started off brutal, like right off the bat. All of the kendo stick shots, it was a lot. It was a lot for me as a wrestling fan to see Xavier Woods, like, you know, hung up on a ring post and them just like taking the kendo sticks to his body that way. And just throughout the whole match, they used a lot of kendo stick shots, and it was kind of disturbing at times. But I feel like they have such good chemistry that it felt like it was, you know, not a blow-off. It doesn't feel like it's a blow-off to the feud. I feel like they could continue on at this point, but it felt like a fight. It felt more like a fight than a match for the titles, and I can respect that. Me personally, super happy that the Usos are 5-time tag team champions. I feel like they're the best team in the company. Sorrow and Sheamus are really good as a team also, so is the New Day, but I feel like the Usos are the #1 team in the company right now, and I feel like they should be champions. It seems like they're invested in heel champions right now, and I feel like it's a good look on the Usos to have them as champions. Now, New Day are 4-time champions, Usos are 5-time champions. It won't be long before New Day has the titles again. They'll be 5-5. I think the record is 7, held by the Dudley Boys. So if they can get a few more reigns, amongst each other, they can actually have one big historic match for that 8th championship reign. I think it's going to be New Day, though, that's going to get that historic reign. But the match was great. I'm glad the Usos are the tag team champions. Next match for the singles contest, we had Randy Orton versus Rusev. And this storyline kind of came out of nowhere previous to SummerSlam. Orton beat Rusev within a few seconds at SummerSlam and made a fool out of him. Rusev got his win back on SmackDown. And last night, they had another match that actually got quite a bit of time, believe it or not. And they spent a lot of time outside of the ring. But all in all, I feel like the match was super solid between them two. One of the better Orton matches that he's had in a very long time, and a really good match for Rusev. Rusev typically doesn't have bad matches, and I feel like he brought Orton to a good match, because I feel like Orton has been really lacking in matches as of late. But in the end, Randy Orton came out with the victory. I would have chosen Rusev personally, because he has not won since he's come back from his injury, and I feel like he needed that win to kind of get back on track. Hopefully Randy Orton is not back in the title picture anytime soon. Third match was Triple Threat Rules US Championship. AJ Styles defending against Baron Corbin and Ty Dillinger. Now, this match was only supposed to be AJ Styles versus Baron Corbin. They added Ty during the pre-show, which I don't think was the greatest of ideas, because it made Corbin look like it made me feel sympathetic for Baron Corbin when I should hate Baron Corbin. But instead, they put Ty in, and I felt like Corbin was cheated somehow out of the match, and that should have been the match all along. They should have just announced it as a triple threat, and they should have just went with that. The match was really good. Styles was clearly the star there, Corbin the heel, and Dillinger was not just wasted space. He came in and he did a really, really good job for is that his first match on pay-per-view since coming to SmackDown Live? I believe it may be, but he did a really good job. He was believable. There wasn't a point where I ever thought he was going to win, but I also didn't expect Corbin to win either. But I'm happy that he did, sort of. Him losing the Money in the Bank briefcase and everything. This is kind of like a constellation prize for him. And Styles can move on to something bigger and better, because let's face it, Styles should be in the world title picture with Jinder Mahal. Styles needs to be the person that takes the title away from Jinder Mahal eventually, so Styles can move on and take the title to newer heights, because Mahal is just kind of like stalled out for me at this point. But Corbin is US champion right now, so maybe they'll do a feud with him and Dillinger, or move him into something else. So we'll see how that goes. Fourth match, SmackDown Live Women's Championship. Natalya defending against Charlotte. This match had some decent build to it also. I was surprised to see the video package showcasing this match, because I didn't feel like it had a strong build, but it did have a decent build to it. I thought that Charlotte was going to come out on top. But on the flip side, I also didn't feel like Natalya held the title long enough. She has never defended it at pay-per-view up until this point, so taking it off of her, I would have felt like, they kind of cheated her out of like a real title reign, because she's been a company woman. She's done whatever they asked her to do. She's really good in the ring, and I have a lot of respect for her. The match itself never got into like second gear for me. It was kind of flat for the most part. I felt like they were holding back for a better match somewhere down the line, and that's actually exactly what happened. Natalya got herself disqualified, and Charlotte came out with the victory, but as you know, wrestling rules. If you win by disqualification, the champion keeps the title, and they just take an L for that. So they'll move on to another segment down the road, maybe Survivor Series or maybe a rematch on SmackDown Live. We'll see how that goes. Fifth match on the card was actually for the SmackDown Live World Championship, or the WWE Championship. You had Jinder Mahal defending against Shinsuke Nakamura in another match that I feel fell super flat. Now, Natalya and Charlotte actually was 2 times better than Mahal and Nakamura, and I'm not sure if this is Mahal, because I don't feel like Mahal has had any great matches with anybody that he's faced thus far. Orton matches were bad. He didn't have a great match with Cena, and he has not had any great matches with Shinsuke Nakamura. So I'm convinced that while I was happy to see Mahal get his shot and be champion, I feel like he's had the championship for too long. I don't believe in him as a champion anymore. If you look at Raw and you look at Brock Lesnar and then you look at SmackDown, if I was to walk up to somebody and say, hey, send me your top guy, Raw sends me Brock Lesnar. I go to SmackDown and I say, send me your top guy. They send me Jinder Mahal. What would you think? Who would you put your money on? I'm going to put my money on Brock Lesnar, 100%. And Shinsuke Nakamura, I don't know if part of it is his fault, because he's not pulling great matches out of Jinder Mahal. He can't pull a great match out of Jinder Mahal. So him taking a second pinfall loss tells me that they're not as confident in Shinsuke Nakamura as they were when he first came up from NXT. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. Maybe he needs to work on his promos a little bit, get some better matches under his belt. I know he's legendary, in Japan, and he had some good matches in NXT, but his transition to the main roster has been lukewarm at best. Crowd reacts to him, he's huge, he's over, but his matches are kind of lacking. So Mahal moves on, retains his title after a whole bunch of interference from the Singh brothers jumping up on the apron and stuff like that. So I'm sure they'll figure something out and maybe give Nakamura another shot. We'll see how that goes on SmackDown. Match number 6, singles contest, Dolph Ziggler versus Bobby Roode. I like Bobby Roode, also like Dolph Ziggler, so I knew they'd have a decent match. It never kicked into high gear again. It was a match. I didn't feel like they were holding back in the match. I feel like Ziggler got in some really good offense, and I feel like Roode had a really good comeback. They had some pretty good near falls. Overall, I feel like the match was decent. I didn't think Ziggler was going to win the match at any point. It was just one of those things where Roode is having his pay-per-view debut, so you knew that he was going to go over. What I did not expect was Ziggler to attack Roode after the match to kind of push the storyline forward a little bit, make it a little bit more personal, and they accomplished that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen between Ziggler and Roode coming up on this week's SmackDown Live. And your main event, personal vendetta, Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon, Hell in a Cell. They started hot. They really did. They went to the outside before the match even started. Owens got the upper hand. He ran into the cell, held the door. Shane came in and kicked it in his face, followed him in. They had a good match. They fought around the ring. They fought inside the ring. Shane cut the chain link with the bolt cutters, walked out. They fought on the outside. When they first took the cover off the table and Owens climbed up to the top, I knew that he was not gonna jump off the cell. I'm like, if Owens jumps off the top of the cell, it's gonna hurt, because he's not a small guy. He's a heavy guy. So for him to do a fall like that, I wasn't buying it. So seeing Shane come up to the top, and they fought quite a bit up top. They did some really cool stuff up top. The Russian leg sweeps, the body slams, the suplexes, the pop-up powerbomb, all that stuff was amazing. So when Owens climbed back down, of course everybody was booing him because they wanted to see somebody fall off the top. When he stopped at the midpoint, I knew that somebody was going to take a fall from midway on the cell, and Owens did. He took that fall, took that bump, and then Shane, one-upped them. He went up to the top, looked down. I feel so bad for Shane's kids because they always come to see him get beat up, or they come to see him fall off of a cell and not hit his mark. That has to be like tough on the kids to see that happen to their dad every time he gets into the ring with somebody. And once again, he jumped off the Hell in a Cell. He didn't make his mark because Sami Zayn, of all people, Sami freaking Zayn, pulls Kevin Owens off the table. Who would have thought? And I should have knew that. I should have known that because on SmackDown, Zayn wanted Owens for himself, and Shane told him no, and he kind of brushed him off, which could make him a little bit upset. Like, I understand that, and that's exactly what happened. So he kind of like made a fool out of Zayn, and Zayn came back and made a fool out of Shane McMahon. So now Sami Zayn is in, a big program because he hasn't been used recently for pretty much anything, and he is a really good talent. So it just changes the dynamic. You have Owens and Zayn who have not been getting along at all, but deep down they're best friends, and now they're back together. And then you have Shane McMahon, who is the commissioner, who got taken out on a stretcher after losing Hell in a Cell. So funny thing is AJ Styles on Talking Smack lended a helping hand to Shane McMahon and said if they needed anybody, if he needed any help fighting Owens and Zayn, that he'd step up. So maybe we got some Owens and Zayn versus Shane and AJ Styles. So maybe that's why they took the title off of Styles, so they can put Corbin into something different. Either way, I'm looking forward to watching SmackDown Live on Tuesday because that was the perfect swerve. So, overall, I think Hell in a Cell was a really good pay-per-view. Besides Mahal and Nakamura falling completely flat for me, I feel like the rest of the show was decent and they had some good matches also. So, all in all, I would probably give Hell in a Cell probably a 3.5 out of 5. I felt like it was a really good show, top to bottom. Yeah, 3 out of 5 out of 5. That's a decent show. It's a decent show. Next up, we have TLC. So we'll see what Raw's coming up with on the other side. So in conclusion, this is Ntcertified. Thank you for watching. Appreciate you guys. As always, please like, comment on this video. If you watch Hell in a Cell, comment on this video. Let me know what you think. And as always, subscribe to the channel. Become a part of the Certified Club. We do multiple videos a week. Wrestling, video games, everything else in between. Come be a part of it. Follow me here on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitch. We got some game streaming coming. So until next time, peace.